On this YouTube channel, I have read all the way up to the ninth chapter and a little bit into the ninth chapter of Obligated Whisper. They're all on the live section, the live feeds you can easily find on my page here. The rest of the book will be read as a recording, and I will place these videos, mostly with audio, with a few pictures here and there, on the playlist, which is simply called Gullerud Books. And so I'll continue reading the entire book. Hopefully I'll finish the whole thing, and they'll be able to be found right there in the playlist instead of the live streams. I'm going to save just, I think, my music for the live streams and maybe some other types of things, but not the audio reading of this particular book. So we got a little bit into chapter 9 in the last video, which was called Owl Reading 9. And so this will be Owl Reading number 10. And we left off just where Nellie announced breakfast to Elton and Blue Jay. And we continue. The large coyote was only searching for food. He was looking toward the butte where he spotted some small creatures ducking into the small caverns there. He followed them, but to no avail. By the time he got there, they were as disappeared as his shadow became with the sun's downing. He sniffed around further, circled back as coyotes are prone, and made it back again to the spot he thought he saw the rabbits. He lay down, but his hunger was stronger than his fatigue. So he got up again, circled again, and that's when it happened. He felt a sharp, stinging pain shoot through his upper chest, and he went flying into the ground until his head hit hard against the wall of the butte. He quivered a bit. His limbs shuddered some more, and then he went still until his eyes were the last parts of him to freeze. When Blue Jay and her grandfather finally arrived to the spot where she said she saw the large eyes, the two of them sat down upon the flat slope where the late morning sunshine gave them warmth. The Apaches of the Yukara, oh boy, I forgot how to pronounce that now. It's been a while since I've been in this world. The Apaches of the Yukara, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, forgive me, regions are not as in tune to the coyote stories as my ancestors in the Mescalero from the south, or even as from our neighbors as close as the Navajo. But they know enough to know any dream with one is not to be taken lightly. Many in our world deem the coyote a pest, a mongrel, a pestilence in our neighborhoods. The white man calls them varmints. He has become accustomed to our cities, as his own lands have been more and more encroached upon by modern man and the sprawl of urban cities. He's a survivor, and he has little pride, like his cousin the wolf. And yet, many do not know this. If the coyote, who is the ancestor to the wolf, it is the coyote who is the ancestor to the wolf, and not the other way around. Domestic dogs came from both the coyote and the wolf, but it was coyote who was here before the wolf. For that reason alone, we should revere their spirits upon our lands, whether they come to us in the desert or in our own backyards and alleys, or in our dreams. Elton reached into his small backpack and pulled out a bottled water and a Baby Ruth candy bar, offering them to Blue Jay. She took them as he reached for his own. When I was very little, my father told me about his own fears for our wildlife, including the coyote, as more and more of the Europeans began to populate our beautiful state of New Mexico. He told me the more he talked to the white man hunters, the more he learned to not just talk to them anymore at all. His livelihood didn't depend on it anyways. He was a rancher, and his dealings were with but a few in the city. He had that luxury. Anyway, he told me how the white hunters would justify things like no bag limits, night hunting, the few laws they had back then to protect the wildlife. They used excuses which were simply not true. In fact, it's been proven the less you hunt predators like coyotes, the fewer in number they actually breed. If their claims were to protect their sheep and cattle, they were shooting their own feet, so to speak, by causing the coyotes to branch off from their packs and breed in solitude, where too often the mothers raised twice as many pups. It got that crazy. If these hunters pretended to not know or were simply ignorant, the fact also remains the coyotes prefer mice, rats, and rabbits to cats and dogs, much less cattle and sheep. The prairie wolf is not a threat to our way of life. They just want you to believe that to satiate their addiction to the sport of killing an animal that gives them no meat and a few fur hairs for an unlikable coat. The killing contest we see here every year gets even worse. Then it's obvious the kills are for entertainment and money alone. They offer cash prizes for the largest coyotes killed, the smallest, and who kills the most coyotes, and so on. Armed participators lure the prairie wolves to their deaths by using decoy sounds that mimic the sound of a wounded animal. Attracted by these devices, the coyotes are drawn into the open and shot. They use rifles with telescopic sights. Blue Jay. Shooting any coyote flushed out by dogs or who come out to investigate the mimicking sounds of the decoys. The coyotes who are not killed are often wounded and suffer. And yet the more we learn about them, the more we realize the roles all species play in healthy ecosystems. And yet, for the most part, state wildlife agencies have remained silent. Blue Jay slowly chewed a chunk of her candy bar before she spoke. Maybe that was it then, Grandpapa. Maybe Coyote came to me because he just wanted me to hear this, to learn about his situation. Maybe he wants me to help him. Could be, little Jay, could be. I wouldn't claim to know the way of dreams or visions, but I believe you did have a vision. And that is why I wanted to drive all the way out here again. Now, why don't you take me closer to the exact spot you saw that giant owl, The two stretched their limbs and walked further down the hoodoo trail until they came to the slight incline where Blue Jay had the experience with the rock tosser. Blue Jay stopped where she remembered. It was right there, Grandfather, right there. She pointed to a small crevice, dark in depth it seemed, full of foreboding mystery. You stay here, little one. I'm just going to let these old limbs of mine slide down that opening. Don't worry, I'll be careful. And Elton got on his stomach and inched his way to the opening. He was not afraid of rattlers or bears or bobcats. This was too small of an opening for any except maybe the snake, but even a snake would not wish to be in this kind of chilly shade in late morning hours. He stopped when his arms could go no further unless he wished to get stuck in the mouth of the cave. You're right, Blue Jay, it's deep, deeper than I could have imagined. This is a cave, all right. Not just some crevice only a burrowing owl could squeeze into. Whatever was playing catch with you apparently either lives in there like a bear or was just hiding in there like a... And he made his head snap back quickly in Blue Jay's direction. A ghost! Blue Jay didn't jump or yelp. She simply laughed jovially at her grandfather's sense of adventure and fun. Oh, Poppy. Wait, he continued. He scooted a few inches further and reached his right hand into the wider breach of the dark opening. There is something more here. He felt something rough and soft like from a burlap bag made for potatoes. After a few small tugs, he pulled from the opening a small doll. It looked similar to a Pueblo Cachina doll, but it was much more odd and surreal, even though a lot of Cachina dolls can be odd and surreal looking. Blue Jay could not see what he was holding, for he was too far into the shadows. What is it, Grandfather? A spirit doll, child. A spirit doll. And Elton slowly wormed his way back like a snake going backwards, still on his stomach, so he wouldn't bump his head on the overhanging shelf of stone. She gasped as he held it out to her. You were not playing with a burrow owl, child. And Coyote did bring us here today. For what reason, I do not have a clue, except for this. Elton laid the small doll, which measured about 3 inches in length, at Blue Jay's moccasin-covered feet. She took it in her hands and studied it carefully, not making a sound, her mouth still slightly agape in wonder. It was cream-colored, and its tiny head had string winding around it, making an almost perfect sphere. 2 eyes, made from perhaps dark stones, were deeply embedded. The craftsmanship was meticulous. It had a wool-like gown on it with detailed Aztec-esque patterns, and there was no hair on its head. It was simple, yet kind of spooky looking. Its thin, dark red lips were painted on from maybe that of iron ore waters. The expression was that of calmness, but not smiling. It exuded neither fear nor happiness. We should call the police, Blue Jay. You just maybe have saved a little one's life. He turned onto his stomach again and crawled toward the opening of the cave. Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? His voice echoed within the narrow caverns, and Blue Jay felt her arms grow goosebumps. He called a few more times, but each time they were met with silence. Come, we must go to that motel and get to a phone. Whoever you met that day could be very hungry, and we don't know how long he or she has been in there. There was urgency in his voice, and Blue Jay stepped lively alongside her grandfather as they walked with hasty steps back to the old Ford pickup. Once buckled in, Elton gave the engine a few revs, and he spun rocks into the butte as they made a quick U-turn and aimed toward the frontage road. Elton only got a little ways before a motorcycle came speeding up to them, almost directly in front of their path on the little-traveled dirt road. It was a modern touring bike, a Harley-Davidson, ridden by a tall, lean-looking man, probably in his 20s. The rider quickly dismounted, shucked the kickstand into position, and ran up to the old man and little girl. Elton rolled his window down. What is it? Are you okay, son? Elton said with concern. Yeah, I'm okay. Are you okay? Oh no, thought Elton. Not some kid on meth again. Not now. Not here. Listen, my friend, we're in a big hurry. Do you happen to have a CB radio on that thing by any chance? Something that can call in the police? We think we may have found a missing child stuck in one of those caverns over there. And he pointed with his thumb over his shoulder. Yeah, I do actually, but mind if I talk to you first? Elton's patience was being tested by a white boy yet again. Sure. But please, make it kind of quick, son, okay? We don't know how long that child has been stuck over there. Yeah. In fact, I'll make the call right now. Then we can talk. Sound good? Sounds very good, thank you. It was Johnny Berg. He, too, had his reasons to make it back to the Hoodoo Butte from his recent campout with his friends. He briskly ambled over to his bike with long-legged strides. Elton and Blue Jay could hear him contacting the police as they were now sitting back down, waiting. Johnny radioed in and was able to give the dispatch operator for the police their coordinates. When he returned, he sat across from them in similar fashion, but cross-legged. They're on their way. They said it might be a bit since we're so far out here. I pretty much expected that, answered Elton, and he thanked the young gentleman with the sleeveless jacket and white t-shirt. That's an 80s model, Harley Electra Classic, right? Hell yeah, it is. You know your bikes. Yeah, Electra Glide Classic, 85. I saved up for it a couple of years till I could finally buy a used one with hardly any miles on it. She's my little princess. I've always loved Harleys, Elton continued. My friend from school days had a cruising bike a lot like yours, and all I could afford was a tote goat, which is a glorified mini bike, really, but I was able to, off-road with it pretty good. But we used to ride out here in the mesas and the buttes, out here even when I was about your age. What are you, in your 20s, early 30s, son? Exactly 30. Just had a 30th birthday bash 2 weeks ago. You're a good guess, man. Mind if I smoke out here? I don't mind. You mind, Blue Jay? Blue Jay smiled at the friendly young man. No, sir. Go right ahead. Can't cause no fires here. Johnny whipped out a pack of Camel Lights and a lighter. He flicked the lighter open and lit one up. You smoke? Oh, no, can do anymore. I gave that up a long time ago. Doctor's orders, and my wife's for that matter. Not necessarily in that order. Johnny chuckled. Probably while you're still around. I gotta quit someday too, I know. So, you came out here to find some lost kid or something? Johnny queried. My name's Johnny, by the way, Johnny Berg. He extended his hand to shake Elton's and then Blue Jay's. Elton Nightfeather, and this is my granddaughter, Blue Jay. Nice to meet you, Elton. Blue Jay. No, we didn't even have too much of a clue, but for this doll we just found. Blue Jay, show him the doll. Blue Jay picked the doll she had placed in her cotton satchel to show to Johnny. Can I see it closer? Blue Jay handed the primitive-looking object to the biker. So you just found this out here, huh? Not that simple. There's more to the story, Johnny, answered Elton. Blue Jay and I were here a couple days ago, hiking. Some of my favorite spots are around here in the Ojito Wilderness. Yeah, me too. This and the White Mesa bike trail's not too far from here. But go on, I'm sorry. He handed the doll back to Blue Jay, who now held it in her lap. When we were here last time, Blue Jay threw some stones into some of those little caves over there. Elton pointed to an opening not far away. The strangest thing happened next. Blue Jay, would you like to tell Johnny what happened? Sure. Blue Jay got up on her haunches a bit and sat a little taller. Well, I started to nap a bit. I dozed off when I felt something hit me. It was a stone like the one I was throwing into the cave. I didn't think much of it, so I just tossed it back to the cave again. Well, the stone came flying back at me. It hit me even. Now, I was sort of confused. What, I thought? Is there some animal tossing my rocks back my way? So I kept throwing them into the same place, and each time they came sailing back. Grandfather and I talked about it later, and we figured it was some kind of burrow owl or maybe a playful bear cub or something. We never could figure it out. But that's not the reason alone we came back here. Last night I had a dream. Vision. I believe it was a vision. Her grandfather interrupted. Go on, Blue Jay. Well, whatever it was as clear as you and I and Father talking and sitting here right now. I could feel the sun, the wind. I could see all the colors, everything. I could smell smells. I was back here again. And then Coyote came to me and he started to tell me to come here again. Coyote? Johnny asked, now putting all his weight on his ankles himself, his toes on their tips. Yes, Coyote. Our people have many stories of the trickster Coyote, and he teaches us many things. Uh-huh, said Johnny. Yeah, so anyway, Coyote comes to me and he says, Blue Jay, you must come here again, and there is a someone I want you to meet. He used the word she. So when we found the doll at the same place the stones were being thrown from, we figured it must be the little girl Coyote told me about. Johnny stared at the little girl with wonder in his eyes. Wow, he exclaimed. That's incredible. And then you found this doll where? It must be some kid then, yes. What else could it be? Johnny flicked his ash on the dirt by his leather boots and shuffled them underneath. So, okay, you got this dream, this vision deal, and you find that doll. That is something. We put two and two together. We figured there must be a lost child down there somewhere. This was some days ago, and we're just hoping to God that child or children, whoever, are still here. We are so grateful to you for calling in the authorities. Maybe there's a missing child's report they can clue us in on when they get here, said Elton. Johnny looked hard at Elton and then at the little doll again. Yeah. Could be. He stretched his long legs so they were now outward, pointing to where Elton said the cave was. Why don't we go and call for them? I did, but we should try it again. I agree. Do some good while we're waiting, said Elton in agreement. The three got up and walked further towards the caves. You're Shinali Shimasani? Quite a wise man, eh, Blue Jay? Said Johnny as they called out into every crevice they could find. Huh? That's Navajo for grandfather. Are you Navajo? Oh, no. We are Apache. My mama is from the Jiraquela. I keep saying that name wrong. My mama is from the Jicarilla tribe. I'll get that better next time. My relatives are mostly in Oklahoma now, but my grandfather and grandmother is Mescalero Apache. We live up near Aztec. Ah, my apologies. It's just you both look like some friends of mine from the Navajo reservation east of here. Leave it to a gringo like me to make such a goof. It's okay, I understand. Both the Navajo and Apache came from Canada hundreds of years ago. It's not too weird to get us confused, I suppose. Blue Jay continued, looking at the large tattoo on Johnny's right upper arm. Is that a coyote? And a raven? Well, not really. The bird is a raven, yes, but the canine is a wolf. My clan from ages ago are the Vikings. I'm mostly Norwegian, and the wolf-raven rune was common with my people from long time past over in Norway. We also had an affinity to animal life like your people do. I live in Santa Fe, but my heart is in Viking lands. Oh, she said softly and stared at his arm a minute more until she turned to a small crevice. Hello! Johnny joined in. Hello! Is anybody down there? Can you hear us? Several yards away, Elton could be heard shouting the same in both English and Apache. Soon, Elton stepped up to the two and shook his head. I cannot make out anything. No sounds, not a peep. You two hear anything? Feel anything? Not me, said Blue Jay. No, said Johnny. Tell me, son, spoke Elton again, what brought you out here so far from the main roads? If we had any rain, you'd be in a heap of trouble, you know. Oh, I know. Me and my buddies have been here before. We know how bad these roads can get in the rain. Well, I'll tell you something. If you promise not to tell anyone else, I might be thought of as a loco crazy man if you do. Elton huffed a friendly kind of huff. Promise, said Blue Jay earnestly. Well, let's sit for this, Johnny. My limbs are getting too old for standing for such lengths. But I'm with Blue Jay. We will keep this between us. Well, like I was saying, I've been here before too. Just about a week ago, like you folks. Of all coincidences. Me and my buddies like to go on camping, sometimes hunting trips, fishing, so long as we can find some lakes or rivers. Anyways, we were just over that way on the horizon, and he pointed to the faraway spot he and his friends had set up camp with the four-wheelers and the cycles. I have this one friend, Harvey. Well, we don't always see eye to eye on things, and well, he spotted a huge coyote right over there beyond that hill, just as the sun was setting. Blue Jay's eyes widened. Yep, a coyote. So anyways, before I could stop him, he went to his truck and pulled out his rifle. Just shot the thing, point blank. I wanted to stop him, but it happened so fast. He left it there. I think he went the next morning to check on it, but he left it where he ended it. It's probably still over there. Johnny sensed Blue Jay's perturbation. Perturbation? Did I say that right? I'm not going to edit these because this is going to take me forever if I do. Anyway, you want to see where it is? Yes, was all she said. Elton knew the import of this new news as well as Blue Jay as Johnny walked them through a few hilly roadblocks until they came upon the large furry corpse. A few flies were buzzing around its eyes, but what struck all of them was the strewn small white flowers around the coyote's neck and upper torso. Look, Blue Jay, Usen was here too, spoke Elton. Blue Jay got on her knees. She traced the path of the small, bright white cacti flowers from the head of the prairie wolf to its chest. Why, Grandfather, these flowers form an almost perfect circle. Johnny joined her as he stooped to his knees. So you came all the way out here again just to check on this coyote, kid? Elton asked. You have some sort of Viking premonition yourself? Oh, no, sir, not exactly. It's not just this dead coyote. See, after Harvey shot and killed him, soon after that, all my buddies eventually took to their tents and went to sleep for the night. I just sort of stayed up a while. I was kind of upset, you know, so as I was stirring the last glows of the embers from our campfire, I would glance up towards this butte here where Harvey, made his kill. I just kept staring where I saw the coyote go down. I was kind of numb. But as I kept staring, I thought I saw some movement over here where this coyote laid. I wiped my eyes. I pressed my fingers into my eye sockets hard to try and see if it was the smoke fire giving me hallucinations of some sort. But no, I could see some figures milling around the critter. I always keep a pair of baby Bushnells, a binocular in my pocket when we go camping, so I grabbed it. If my heart didn't stop beating, I don't know why I couldn't hear a sound of wind or my own breath. There by this coyote, I could now see pretty clearly were three figures slowly walking around its body, slightly bending here and there. They looked like some kind of aliens, some small creatures with these big round heads and big buggy eyes. I know it sounds crazy, but I only had a couple of beers. Elton and Blue Jay said nothing. They waited for Johnny Berg to tell them more of what he saw. Johnny paused, as if he expected them to interrupt him, but seeing no such thing, he hesitatingly continued. Well, anyways, I was almost in a state of some kind of shock. Part of me wanted to wake my friends up, and then I stopped that idea from formulating in my head. Some of these friends didn't think twice about shooting at living things from far away, way out here in the middle of nowhere, knowing they were safe from consequences. This was nighttime, said Elton. It's illegal to kill coyotes after dark in New Mexico. I know. So, what was to stop them from shooting some Martians from Mars? You catch my drift? Johnny sat back down again. He was breathing heavy with an almost visible pumping of his lungs. Well, maybe a couple minutes passed. Maybe it was more like 10 minutes. I couldn't tell you, but I will tell you this. I kept my little mini binoculars pressed to my eyes every second. One or two would walk away for a bit, return, bend down, and then stand straight again. They looked like children. It's one reason I was happy to call the cops just now. What if they were? But what kind of human kids would calmly walk around that dead canine, gather flowers, and then disappear as if nothing was out of the ordinary? I knew if I woke up my buddies after that they would have been convinced I was a nut job, a crack case. And I didn't need that, as I already am not seen as the most stable of our little clan. Johnny paused. He was standing once again. He looked down on the dead coyote and the flowers scattered about him. Christ, I never should have told Harvey later on. Eh? Asked Elton. Just then, 2 patrol cars were heard. They were followed by a Flora Vista ambulance. In a few minutes, they pulled aside Elton's truck and Johnny's. They pulled aside Elton's truck and Johnny's bike. Vehicle doors slammed. So we're still in the beginning of chapter 9, and I'll close there. The other recordings were roughly around an hour long. I'll try to make these between 15 minutes and a half an hour so I can do them more often. And that's Obligated Whisper. Continued. Thank you.